in his many incarnations which he takes, he acts as mankind's savior and also as a source of guidance. Kanda Buwana. Kanda Buwana, alias Matthew Cohen. He knows my name in advance. I told you he was really wise in advance. Kanda Buwana. Kanda means story. Buwana means the world. For you are the person who tells the stories about the world. Why is it you have come to the world of the gods? Don't tell me, I know already. The audience knows already. The whole world knows already. You've caused a cosmic disturbance after all. You seek an answer to your dilemma, to be a Dalang without a Wayang, to have Wayang without a Dalang, or something of that sort. I'm still figuring out some of the details of the story. And by the way, there are feedback and evaluation questionnaires. Put a few pens there, courtesy of the C4CC. So if you want to fill in some questionnaires later, it'd be much appreciated. Here you go talking about questionnaires. This is the world of Wayang. That's an anarchical device. It's not proper or fitting in the world of Wayang. Don't tell me, Cressida, because I've spent a lot of time in Java. That's the ideal vision which people have of Java. It's an Orientalist vision, that Wayang is something out of the distant past, that is all classical stories, that people are believing in ghosts and spirits, and so on and so forth. But in fact, Wayang is a very contemporary art form, and these kinds of topical allusions are very common. And what I'm doing in some ways is responding as much to things like forced entertainment, perhaps, as it is things like, I don't know, Into Susmono or Slamet Lundono or a handful of other names which maybe Pelly knows about. Kanda Buwana. Here you go on talking and talking like Chungkring. Yeah, I've been told that my nose is a lot like Chungkring. Kanda Buwana. For you to answer, to receive an answer to this cosmic dilemma which you face, you must go, in fact, in search of mystical knowledge. You must meet none other than Sangktekputi, the white monkey, alias Hanaman. Hanaman is a character out of the Ramayana, for those of you who don't know. I should point out that all these figures here are kind of stock figures. They appeared story after story after story, like the Orlando figures out of Sicily, which we learned about last night. These are characters who come up again and again and again, and are intimately familiar to people of Java. So when I say this is Kresna to you, the people will know instantly when it appears on the screen. It's an iconic figure. Everyone will know this figure right away. And we learned also in the workshop how these figures are hanging up in stores and are available for tourists. But these are figures which are more than that in Java. These are people actually. These are people who are very close to the everyday heart. Sangktekputi, Sang Hanaman. You must meet him. You must engage with him. You must find an answer to your dilemma in your encounter with him. Very well then. Can I get a suggestion about where he might be? You are the Dalang? You are the storyteller, the puppeteer, the narrator, and you are asking me? It is a little bit of a paradox even that I'm talking to these characters. After all, these characters are kind of a part of myself, but maybe that's one of the essential paradoxes of puppetry, that we do a lot of talking to ourselves. Or maybe that's something else, maybe that's a delusion, I'm not sure. Go then to Sang Hanuman, Sangktekputi. Lang lang gatining kang awan sopo nikang astin asa mantoro takang. Oh, I should note that this is a kion, a tree of life. And it's also a dramaturgical device. When I pass it back and forth in front of this light here, it indicates like a curtain in a theater. Tarasuromo Miangkan Mochanoko Lornarado Kapangehingiko Engkarso Sang Bupati. It's also can be a tree. Hanuman. Here I am, a Dalang without a Wayang. Mwapa. I don't think he gets it that we're speaking in English right now. Mwapa. Buta. She just called me an ogre. Buta means ogre. Wapa, Wongondo. Londo means a Dutchman. It's not a very polite way of calling it. Paiki. Aku lagi enak turu. Weganggu aku. He says that I'm translating. Actually, in Greece, I did have a translator at my side, which was a wonderful thing. I was working simultaneously with but I have to translate because somehow hanaman is not speaking in English. He's speaking in a kind of low Javanese, very insulting. This is what happens, and you can anticipate in scenes like this that there's about a battle which is going to come up of some sort or another. Well, I'm sorry. I have to do a little bit of translating. He's asking why I keep on speaking to English to all of you. Caroline, you're nodding your head. You're in sympathy with us. Yeah, you understand that for you to understand anything which is going on, you really do have to have a little bit of translation. I'm not sure. Hallie, how's your Javanese these days?
Very bad.
Very bad. Lisa?
Very bad.
Very bad as well. There you go. Urban Indonesians. Yeah, this is a problem. Yeah. 100 years ago, in order to be where you are right now, even being from outside of Java, I think you'd have to know a little bit more Javanese.
Don't ever talk with a common English.
I think that was a bit rude, actually.
I have this problem. I am not a Buta. I'm actually a Dalang, and I'm trying to do this show. And you know, I've been here. The audience has been very patient and has been watching me think of new material as one does in open rehearsals. Getting some feedback and questionnaires. Hopefully, you've had a glass of wine already, so that's okay. And you're all very good natured. I can see even Misha here has a little bit of an indication of a smile. It's not very visible underneath the beard. I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion here, Hanaman. You keep on talking to me that I'm Buta and that I don't understand where things are going to go. After all, if you're looking for a fight, then here, look at me. I'm so big that my shadow goes off the screen here. Yeah, and you're all the way down there. And it's a little bit unequal. He's looking to fight with me, I think, but I don't know how we can have a fight between a puppet and a puppeteer. I mean, Roman was earlier talking about the resistance of a puppet against a puppeteer, but I don't know if he meant it actually like this, that the puppet was kind of going to resist me and actually get into a fight with me. A little bit more concrete, perhaps, than the metaphor which was intended at that moment. But you know, this is the kinds of things which happen in Java occasionally. Is that in fact there are puppeteers who occasionally get into fights with their puppets, and it's clear from our dramatic dilemma here that we're not going to get out of this without a fight. And so we go with the flow. Puppets do occasionally. Aku harap peduli wayang negara. Aku sing jadi jagat. Aku sing jadi ratu ingasiki. He's saying that he's the king of this forest, and metaphorically, of course, because London is hardly a forest. But you know, talk about urban jungles. You know, the metaphorical associations are all there. It's a way of giving you a taste of Javanese also, so you can get a sense of what the kind of the verbal dialogue, the discourse, kind of the textuality, the kind of the texture of the wayang, these kind of highlighted moments of performance. Aku bukai malas London. He's saying he's the ogre of the forest of London. And that sometimes happens in performance. Reference to topical place names, this kind of Aku harap pindah. Ya wish. Harapmu. Dong 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 dong. And that's a gamelan, by the way. If we had big gamelan here, big brown brass instruments, big gongs, big. Dong 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 dong. So that would be a sketch of the Bible. And what's interesting about this puppet here is that actually one brings out the hanaman puppet because of the extraordinary, fantastic technical things which it accomplished. And it has this ability not only to move like a person does, but also to move into monkey mode with this kind of twirling, and it showed a little bit of above with the climbing of the trees, and throwing the trees, and kicking the trees, and using his head, and biting, and making monkey sounds, and these are all kinds of things which one normally brings out this puppet, but I can't do that because I don't have a screen, and I don't have a gamelan, and I don't have an analog, and you know, this is really sad. This is kind of the fate of the world these days, that, you know, we find ourselves in these kinds of situations where we're faced with, oh, Cresta. Cresta, I have taken on the role of a Wayang. I'm actually I put on my Dalang hat again. I bought this at Borobudur at a tourist stand, but that's another story. I've taken on the role of a Wayang, a puppet. I have done your bidding. I'll straighten out Cresta a little bit so the shadow's a little bit better. That happens too in performance, by the way, is that people move around puppets to make sure that the puppets are in a better position without the audience knowing, assuming that this is a reflection of character, but realizing this is an artifact of the theatricality, which we all share in. So when a puppet starts to fall over, as this one's doing, because maybe the styrofoam is a little bit old, this would be an analog, of course, in Java, then people understand that this is part of the theatricality of the event. We buy into this, we understand, we celebrate these kinds of moments of illusion. Cresta, I have taken on the responsibility of being a puppet. My brain has made me into a puppet. It's another in-joke for those who are at the workshop. Here I am. I am with you right now again. And I just noticed, Caroline, you have a beautiful shoe up there. Is that your shoe? Whose shoe is that? No, it's Misha's shoe. It's wonderful. It's become part of the. Did people know that? That it's become part of the set. I was talking about how the audience becomes part of the performance, and here we have Misha's shoe. So I'll remember this shoe for a long time, Misha. Thank you. So I've taken on the role of puppet, and I've indulged your whims, and I've indulged the audience also. Been very patient sitting there for all this time after a very long workshop. And yet here we are again, and I don't see any progress in this story. We were in the last scene. Hi. It's true. It's true indeed that you are back with me. And now I will reveal the answer to your conundrum, the answer to your riddle. That's good. We're making some progress here. We're moving along. I see there are only a few lines left, so something's going to happen. Unless we go back to this pile over here, the discard pile. That's always a possibility. Dalang, you talk to the audience too much. You need to progress the story. They have better things to do. They want to go off and have a pint at the King's Head around the corner. Brian says it's a very good pub. And besides, if we get enough people there, eventually there'll be a discount.
It's true.
There you go. He says it's true. It must be true. That's outside the theatrical frame. Here you are, talking nonsense. In order to answer your dilemma, in order to solve it, you must meet another puppet, another Wayang. Here we go again. He's treating me just like Chungkring. Chungkring is the lowest of the clown servants. He's the lowest of the low. And in Wayang, he's continually being set up these tasks, which are kind of ridiculous tasks to solve, assuming he's kind of like beyond figuring things out. Of course, he's one of the more clever characters. And he's often in search of these kinds of mystical knowledge, but he gets often a lot of work to do. So he gets sent from place to place, gets ordered around, and eventually some things work out. Yes, indeed, you are exactly like Chungkring, talking nonsense all the time. In order for you to figure out this dilemma, you must meet with Buta Akiaki. Now, Buta Akiaki, by the way, is not actually a character's name, but it's the name of the puppet, because sometimes puppets have not only names for the characters, they are names of the puppets. A character like Buta Akiaki here, who I'm bringing out right now, will, in fact, be used for different stories. He'll get different names. But this is a puppet which I'm very fond of. And the generic name he's known as is Buta Akiaki. sometimes he's accompanied with Satan. So these would be his one. I was asked about this in my last performance in Greece, why these Satan came along, and I said, well, it's because they make a nice scenic effect, and that's part of the reason. But it's a little bit hard to judge it sometimes with these wonky shadows which I have going on right now. We're going to speak in English. Is that okay? Yes, it's okay. I understand many languages. I'm just like Roman Pasca, who speaks Italian, Greek, Spanish, and German, as well as English from America. What is it you want? Well, I've been sent here by Hanaman, actually. Well, indirectly. I was sent originally by Krishna to Hanaman, and then came back to Krishna, and anyways, I've been around the road a few times, and I think you kind of followed me on the journey, more or less. I don't know. How am I doing, Kelly? Okay? Yeah? Are you following this?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you're understanding this, of course, because Kelly knows the conventions of Wayang already.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
No,
we've seen Islamic Kundota before. And what is it you want? Well, I've been here for a long time. The audience has been very, very patient in my so-called open rehearsal, signified by my house here. Yeah? And they've had their glass of wine. They might want to have another glass of wine before they go. I don't know, Brian, do we have more wine back there? There's more wine. Oh, okay, enough. That count there. What is it you want? Why are you talking to me? You know, I had mentioned this earlier, that I have been talking about talking with puppets, which I think is a really fundamentally odd phenomenon in some sense. In some sense, I think about my interest in puppets going back all the way to early childhood. I play with what we call that action figures. I don't know, show of hands for people who play with action figures as a child. Action figures. So a lot of us guys here play with action figures. Of course, my sister didn't call them action figures, they called them dolls. We made a big distinction between those things growing up. In some ways, playing with puppets has something to do with playing with dolls, except you're performing to an audience. And I think a lot of the same kind of creative things are going on there. But adults don't do a lot of doll play, and if they do, they're considered a little bit crazy, especially if they perform in public. So, you know, and looking at this puppet here, and it is a puppet. You know, we've been talking about this as a fictional. This is, of course, a fiction which I've been engaging with, which you've all been indulging in today. Yeah. And I've done a lot of frame breaking, yeah, a lot of Brechtian alienation techniques. but in fact, you know, we've also been kind of enjoying the fictionality of this. But you know, this puppet really does have some personal significance to me, and it was given to me, actually it was exchanged with me with one of my teachers, Kipasari, who died a number of years ago. And this was a man who was one of the world's great puppeteers, in my estimation. I wrote a whole book around his work. And was absolutely remarkably gifted. His voice was fantastic. His manipulation was very inventive and experimental. A master of music,